we didn't already know that the world is changing, the last few months here in the UAE have made one thing very clear. Nothing is for certain. The geopolitical climate has deeply shaken families' sense of safety and stability. Parents are navigating uncertainty while supporting children through disrupted routines, waves of online learning, and constant information, which has been really overwhelming. This could not be a more important time for this conversation. Hello, I'm Karishma Bhansali, and I am so happy to be guest hosting this podcast for Education UAE's QTheVoices with the brilliant, experienced Marisa Peer. Marisa is the creator of the multi-award-winning RTT method, founder of IamEnough.com, international best-selling author. Her latest book is called Your Mind, Your Rules. She's a motivational speaker, personal development expert, and a leading celebrity therapist. Thank you for being here. So, we are at a fascinating and somewhat very unsettling crossroads in history. Many of us have grown up in relatively stable environments. Now we're witnessing sort of rapid global shifts, uncertainty, institutional and organizational change. What do you think this moment means for the future of education?
I think education is changing. I think in even 30 years, the whole school system will look very different to how it is. I think we'll probably say the model they have in Scandinavia where children self-select their lessons, because the education model really hasn't changed for the last 100 years. You go to school, you learn in a classroom, you have breaks, and I think that's going to change so dramatically.
Especially looking at what we've been through over the last 6 years, right? Our nervous systems have also been on this sort of roller coaster ride. First we've had COVID. Now we are no longer observers of a conflict from a distance. We're facing a reality on the ground. We've got the 24-hour news cycles. We've got social media. We've got the AI. We've got fake news. It is too much for us all to take and filter. How do you feel parents and adults should model this emotionally, stably, and regulate themselves for kids?
Well, first of all, there's a different answer. I'll come back to that one too. The whole point of school is to raise children's self-esteem and to socialize. I think we've forgotten. We think my kid's going to sort of have great education, to be brilliant, to get all these qualifications. And that's actually not quite right. You go to school to socialize. And the job of a school is to raise every child's self-esteem. If you come out with fantastic 100% A's but low self-esteem, what's the point? And also the job of the parent, by the way, is also to raise your child's self-esteem. Whatever you do, Mandarin lessons, organic broccoli, meditation, if they do not have high self-esteem, sadly, you haven't done your job. I mean, I didn't know that when I was a parent. So I think they have to keep going back to, okay, how can I raise my child's self-esteem? What do they need? So that's the first one. The second question you had is, what can parents do in this world of permacrisis? We need certainty. Certainty is a human need. The minute we're born, we have an absolute need for certainty, because certainty means I will survive. My parents are there. I've got a routine. The baby wakes up and mum isn't there, or dad isn't there, or no one comes. They begin to have uncertainty. So it's an absolute fact that human beings require certainty. And now if we don't have it, so what can we do? In an uncertain world, you only have one choice. Be the certainty you require. What does that even mean? Well, it means you do the same things, have family meals, talk to your kids, go for walks, visit friends, try and keep routines. I call it little islands of certainty in an uncertain world. So let's imagine you wake up, do not put the news on with your children there, because small children don't have logic, they only have emotion. They can't understand if this is really happening in their living room or far away. So don't have on the news, in the car, on the TV. Don't talk about it. Talk about normality. And if you're homeschooling them, make it normal. And if you're homeschooling your kids, remember they must socialize, so make sure you do outings with other homeschooling parents. And for yourself, rituals, something as simple as getting up and really savoring your coffee, saying, what is the same in my life? I had the same breakfast, the same commute, the same friends. I mean, maybe you don't have the same commute. Maybe you're working from home, but you must be the certainty. And the way you feel about everything, and I do mean everything, comes down to just two things: the pictures you make in your head and the words you construct. So if you're saying this is a nightmare. This is terrifying. I don't know what's going on. I'm so scared. Shall I go abroad? Shall I come back? What's going to happen? You are putting very negative pictures and words in your head. And you have to change them by saying that this too will pass. Because historically, if we look back at 9/11, if you look back at the AIDS epidemic, the SARS crisis, everything went back to normal. Yes, life does go back to normal. I was a dancer in the 80s when the AIDS epidemic hit, and that was a death sentence. But people now are living 45 years. It isn't a death sentence. After 9/11, we're told life will never be the same again. After COVID was such a strange thing, but I've almost forgotten now how odd that was to wake up.
Yes.
So if we look back, life always does go back, and you have to say that, saying this will pass, life will go back. But in the meantime, be the certainty in a very uncertain world, and give as much certainty as you can to your children. And the things you can do when you're feeling anxious. So for instance, if you notice you're doing that, push your shoulders down. Every day your biology, your psychology has a conversation with your biology. So if you're tense, if you have a dry mouth, your brain knows, oh, you're anxious. If you push your shoulders down, drink a lot of water, your psychology tells your biology, oh, you're relaxed. Right. So you've got to do a lot of things that help. The simple things like you don't sleep better, have some land oil on your pillow. Do not watch the news before you go to bed. Listen to music that calms you down. Actually getting up and walking around is very good. That's another little island of certainty. Playing music that makes you feel calm. Anything you can do, but it is your job. Yes. In an uncertain world to be the certainty.
So I guess what you're also saying is, presence is so important, sort of just being mindful of how we're being, what we're doing. And you're right, because I've seen, some kids, as you said, smaller kids have responded to this crisis, rather traumatically. Other kids have kind of responded to it with curiosity. Some of it thought it was just sort of like the movie, like a movie of fireworks. And that's been really interesting to see. So I guess it is the mindfulness that helps. And I loved what you said about what is a school's job, in terms of raising children. But I also feel, just looking at what's happening around us, we are raising human beings in a world that's slowly forgetting how to listen. Of course. And we're seeing the consequences of it play out in real time. And how do we do this? Because we're actually a very fortunate generation. We've been able to go far and wide. We're able to send our kids to study abroad. But the more far and wide we're all kind of going, the more deeply polarized the world is. Instead of becoming more empathetic, instead of becoming more inclusive. So how would you want to inculcate the ability to listen again in society, in education?
Well, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You're supposed to listen and talk less. I wish when I was event I'd known there's such a simple thing. All your children want, Heather, is for you to be present with them. That's what they want. That's what they need. Be present. And that just means, as a working parent, when you come home, switch off the phone, switch off everything, and be present with your kids. I mean, you're talking about 2 hours. If you have 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds, you get home at 5, they're really pretty much going to bed at 8. That's not hard. Everything can wait. The emails can wait. You must be present with your children. Shut everything down. And if you say the words narrow down, now I'm narrowed down my focus. I'm 100% being a mom. When I go to work, I can 100% be a businesswoman. But when I'm at home, I must 100% give them my attention. So you have to make a choice. That's what they need. More than money, more than organic food, more than anything. You should be present. And you have to choose, well, how can I do that? You can't be present 16 hours a day. And they don't require that. They're in school, they're in industry. But what they do require is for you to pick some hours out of your day, maybe 2, and you go, okay, for those hours, I will be present. I'll be baking in the kitchen, watching a movie without my phone, walking in the park, doing some crafts. But you must be present because that's all they need. And it goes so quickly. All of a sudden, I had to take my daughter to the cinema. And that was our thing. When it's just, Mummy, no, I'm going with my friends now. We're not doing that anymore. But by the time she was 14, that was all over. Yes. So you don't have long to be present. In fact, to be a great carer, you only have to do 3 things really well. The first is be present with your kids. Even when they're 15 and 16 and 17 and they'd not be interested, still talk to them around the breakfast table, talk to them at dinner. When you're in the car driving, have a conversation, turn off the podcast or the music. So be present is first. Second is apologize in lot. It does make you a weak, but it makes you a strong one. You see, children do this very interesting thing. When something goes wrong, they take ownership. So if mum is always crying, if dad is never there, if mum is always at work, they have to own that. They go, no, my mum is always at work. Oh, because work is more important than me. My dad is never here because I'm not worth being here for. My mum is always sad. I don't make her happy. So a child must take ownership. That's how they make sense of it. If a child would work out at 6, my mum's got mental health issues, that's terrifying for them. Much safer to go, it's me. Yes. The problem is that once they take ownership, they never know how to give it up. So you got to own it. When you own it, they don't have to. When you say to your child, today, Mummy was cranky, Mummy wasn't present, Mummy lost her patience, Mummy was busy, I'm really sorry, my daughter didn't want any money. Have you got your pyramid? So basically, she goes, I knew it. Because I say to her, darling, I'm really sorry today. I was there as well, I had my period. One day she said, Mummy, I think my teacher had her pyramid today. It was so funny how, because I would own it as much as I could, that she didn't have to. Yeah. And that's the greatest gift you can give your kid. Apologize. I should have been there. I should have listened. I should have been attentive. Today, Daddy lost it. I'm so sorry. Because they understand that. What they don't understand is having to constantly own it. And the third thing to do is praise them a lot. Saying, I notice how kind you are to your grandmother. I notice how good you are with the dog. I notice how sweet you are to your sister. If you notice they have a gift, praise them a lot, because that's how you grow self-esteem. Praise, but not, oh, you're the greatest kid in the world. Yeah. You have to notice what they are doing, because there is nothing that will grow self-esteem like praise. But it has to be based on something real. If you say, oh my God, you're the best artist in the whole, and I've got that drawing, they go, yeah, I'm a pen lead to my bag. So they know. But if you say to them, I've noticed something you do really well. Your handwriting is so beautiful. Your drawings are so amazing. You're very interesting to talk to. That's how you grow their self-esteem. And we can all do these 3 things. They're not hard. They're not even time-consuming, but they're the mark of an amazing parent. And if you don't do it, you're going to spend your kids' teenage years and 20s trying to undo the damage. So do it, because it really pays off.
Brilliant. You've talked about, you've had, 30 years of experience, and you have been dealing with, Hollywood celebrities, CEOs, exceptionally successful people, Olympic athletes. And the one thing that you've said that has always come out of all your sessions is this feeling that they think that they're not enough. Sure. And that has been your mission. And you want to bring that mission to teenagers. So, because you've also been quoted, say, I'd rather get out of business and give them therapy right now, than have, miserable adults and people with low self-esteem. How do you want to do this? How should we be doing this? And as well, that's just a bit, it's just gone a bit crazy.
Yeah, the common issue that almost everyone has, at least 80% of us, is kind of enough. And there are so many ways to feel not enough. I'm not worthy enough. I'm not interesting enough. I'm not qualified enough. I'm not attractive enough. The list goes on and on and on. We have to ask ourselves the question, where does that come from? There isn't a baby in the world who says, don't look at me. I got triple knees, baggy little butt, fat stomach, and built spots with no teeth, and my eyes are not clipping together. When you're in the womb, it's like being in the 4 seasons. It's always 75 degrees. It's 24-hour room service, someone it's always there. So a baby is born thinking, I'm enough. I'm going to cry in the middle of the night and you're going to come and get me. A baby has no concept it's not enough. So if we're born with enoughness, we have to ask ourselves a question. How does it go? And where it goes very quickly is being compared. And the school system does that. They have streaming. Yeah. They have prize, and they always give the prize to people who often haven't made an effort. They reward achievement and not effort. So this kid who spent hours writing an essay doesn't get a prize. The kid who's naturally gifted does. And they should reverse it. Should always start to reward effort. Yes. So comparing is a huge problem, which is why in Scandinavia they have this self-selection of lessons. The kids are good at IT, spend all their time in IT. Kids are good at art, spend all their time in art, and they don't have this feeling of, oh, I was working with a little boy a few years ago who was a genius at coding. And his school sent it to me as if, this kid is really having a lot of problems. He kept saying to me, I can't draw, and I'm no good at French, and I don't understand history, and I'm not good at running. I said, darling, you're going to be a coder your whole life. You only have to be good at one thing. So I asked him to imagine, because I knew that his mother was a designer and his father was a landscaper. Imagine a world where everyone is good at everything. Everyone landscapes their own garden, designs their own house, never goes out to dinner because they're all fantastic chefs, never buys clothes because they can make their own, plans their own toilet, and paints their own house. It'd be kind of a horrible world because we'd have no jobs because we'd all be good at everything. And it would be but you're supposed to be good at one thing. You're here on the planet to find your gift and share it. Perfect your gift. We've got to do 3 things. Find it, but then you've got to constantly improve it and then share it with the world. And he kind of got that, but you only have to be good as a coder. You're a master of all trades. But a jack of all trades and a master of none is an English expression. I'm good at everything badly, but I don't have one thing I can master. You only need to master one thing in your life. And I think the schools try to make you good at everything. We're good at maths and Latin and geography and English. It's a mistake. There's lots of things I'm not good at, but I'm very good at therapy. I only have to be good at that. And my daughter is an amazing artist, but she doesn't speak Spanish and Italian and German because she puts all her focus on being an incredible artist. So I was telling him this, and I was telling this story on a podcast, and the school wrote me and said, hey, could we put that in the assembly? I said, of course you can. I'd love you to. I was both pleased they asked me, but slightly worried that they didn't already know that when you see a child with a gift for one thing, nurture one thing as a parent, if your kid is naturally good at cooking. We know that Jamie Oliver was cooking in his parents' kitchen at 11. We know that Jo Malone was taking her mother's flowers and pretending to make fragrance at 9. Yes. And if you can see your kid's gift and nurturing, because that's where they're going, but don't try to make them good at everything. You dilute their talent. So I think it's very important. As parents also go, what's my gift? Why am I here? People think we're here to find the love of our life and have children. As lonely as that is, you're actually here to find your gift. And your gift, by the way, is absolutely linked to what you love to do in key age in the 5 and 15. 5 is when you're discovering yourself, and 15 is when you kind of know who you are. Yes. And if you look back at anyone who's where they go, yeah, when I was fit, Stella McCartney said I was designing clothes when I was 8. A shoe designer like Patrick Cox would say I was drawing shoes when I was 7. A strategist would say I was doing puzzles when I was 6. So think of what you love. Yes. Hurrying up to 60, doing something you hate, and go back and work on that. And it's really sad because, as you know, because of the situation we're in at the moment, for some families, the situation hasn't just been emotional, it's been almost existential because, the children in critical exam years, named the ones who are giving their A-levels, the ones who are giving their IBs, the ones who are giving their GCSEs, exams got cancelled, they got altered. University offers are hanging on the outcomes of these grades. And they're thinking, what's next for me? The future all of a sudden has become so fragile for them. And I've just been through the whole IB process with my eldest son, and I completely empathize with the anxiety of it, the worry of it. But I wonder if there's a bigger question, instead of thinking about, would our children survive all of this? It's like, does it make sense to be wanting to survive for a system like this? Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely correct. The old model, go to school, get good grades, go to university, get a degree and get a job. Now it's go to school, get good grades, go to uni, get a degree. Oh, and now there are no jobs. AI is going to take almost all of our jobs. There are very few jobs. In fact, being an entrepreneur is one of the few things. And I work in the school system. A lot of when I speak to children, they'll say the same thing. I want to be a coder. I want to be an influencer. I want to be a podcaster. I want to be an entrepreneur. And if they're all saying that, they're saying, no, you need to be an architect. You need to be a police officer. If they're all saying that, we should be teaching them these skills, because the truth is they aren't going to get photographers, architects, one of these careers, copywriting. I mean, it just doesn't exist. I was talking to a model last week who said, my whole career has ended. I mean, the old model was you put the model on a plane, you fly them to a location, you put them in a hotel, you do your hair and makeup. It's all done by AI. I was speaking to a photographer who said, my business is gone already. So we really need to look at the bigger picture. We're stressing about our children's exam results. That's good. But actually, we're going to have to say, what are they going to do in 20 years' time? I look at my little Grant and think, wow, what's he going to do?
Yeah, how would you kind of school would you expect you up to?
A school where they nurtured being an entrepreneur, being self-made, having an idea and taking that idea to market. I mean, there are some careers AI will not be able to take over. Actually, being a speaker, you can't possibly do that. I mean, a lot of therapy is now being done by AI, and I prefer it. AI doesn't judge me. I can tell them my most deepest secrets, and it's not going to judge me. So it's an interesting word. When I look at something that the AI couldn't do well, which is people services. But this whole AI thing, the money it's costing to run this, that's also going to collapse, because people are going to be paying the money it costs to run these AI businesses, to run, actually the words that what was the word? What the big holding phase?
The data centers.
Yeah, the data centers cost so much money. And most people wouldn't pay, but at energy, the energy is quite an argument. That's really alarming, the energy. And it's mostly the subscription you would have to pay. Right now, Claude or ChatGPTs are here, but eventually it's going to be very, very expensive. So we're saying, on the one hand, we're taking away your job, and you've got to pay a huge subscription for this AI. That doesn't go together. Doesn't go together at all. So we need to look at the bigger picture. What career could my child have that would give them meaning, purpose, impact, and that AI cannot take off them? And that's not a broad picture at all. So all this worry about the exam results, because your kid's going to be a doctor, an architect, a lawyer, an accountant. People won't use accountants very soon. I mean, even lawyers, because they'll know I've got an AI, but if it didn't check you, you give me great advice. Journalists, writers. So I think we have to look at another picture. How can I have a happy, confident child with high self-esteem? Where are they going to be? We know that the biggest employer in the world is driving lorries, but that's all going to be gone in 20 years. So in places like America, that's a huge industry, being a haulage driver. Not going to exist. Yeah. So we have to have really smart people looking at the bigger picture, looking at education and saying, what can we do for our kids? How can we make them balanced people? Because, people don't fear dying, they fear having lived a life without impact. So we have to ask a big question. Where can I find meaning, purpose, and impact? People who are in businesses of service are happy that people who earn 3 times their income. So maybe a priest, a vicar, an imam, a nurse, a carer. Those people are happier because they are of service. So we know that being of service makes you feel good, even if you don't earn the same money as someone who maybe is a surgeon. So there's a lot of clues out there, but we really got to look at clues. Okay, if my kid can't have this engrossing career as a court attorney or a high court judge, how can they be of service? How can we have happy people? Because happiness is everything.
Yes. Happiness is everything. And I actually had a question for you on that. In our affluent societies, you've talked about how we're rewarding achievement. We want our kids to be happy all the time. Is that a possibility, to be happy all the time? What about resilience?
No,
What about
courage? I don't think you can be happy all the time. I don't think any wakes want more excels sort of happy all the time. My potential expands as we move forward. So my potential is there. When I get there, it moves again and again. Yeah. And I used to work with prisoners a lot, and they said, I'd just be happy when I'm free. Just be happy with a little room to live in. I don't mind stacking shelves. And then you go, well, this is not enough. I need a bigger apartment now. I need a job that's more demanding. So as you reach your happiness quota, it's like, I want to get married and have a baby. Well, I've done that. I'm a bit bored now. I need another baby. I need something with more meaning.
Yes.
But you see, there is no destination called happiness. You can't go, happiness is there, I'm going.
Yeah.
Happiness is an inside job, and you have to choose it. You go, I'm choosing happiness. I'm choosing, with this Permacrisis, define islands of happiness. I'm listening to some music. I'm looking at a photo album. I'm hearing my chummer giggle. I'm listening to the birds sing. I've seen some beautiful flowers. Happiness is an inside job. And in order to get it, you have to say, I'm going to wake up and be happy. And I wake up and say, wow, I love these sheets. I got my little cat sleeping on the bed, or my dog waiting, or my baby is gurgling. My 5-year-old is talking to me. I love the smell of this shower. I've picked something that makes me happy. I'm savoring my first cup of coffee, because at the end of our life, we never say, you know, what made me happy was that business takeover. It's always the little things. Yeah, clean sheets, finding a parking space, someone smiling at you, a hug, someone holding your hand, someone being kind. And it's the little things. So you have to really observe all the little things that make you happy. Like, you know, as I wake up, I love the fact that my cats are on the bed. My husband always brings me a cup of tea, and I savor it. I always make sure I have smells that I love to make me happy, and music which I love. And then I'll say, I wake up excited about little things like reading the paper, having a cup of coffee. And when you can train your brain to find pleasure in the simplest thing, going for a walk, then big things are like Christmas.
Yes.
But most people will say something like, I refurbished the house. I bought this house. I refurbished it all. When it was finished, I thought, oh, actually, it was the doing it that gave me pleasure. Now I'm in it. I feel like I need to find another house. I need to sell this other project. Get here. So when I finished my first ever book, everyone said, we must be so happy. And I miss it. It was so engrossing and thrilling and rewarding, because as a writer, I knew one thing. If I said, oh my God, this is boring, this is so isolating, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I told my brain, I love writing. It's thrilling. It's engrossing. And it became so true, because your brain doesn't know if what you tell it is true or false. It can't even know, is this imagined or real? And by the time I finished it, I missed the engrossing, and I'd just now written my second book, and I'm just doing my 8th as we speak. That's brilliant. But you have to lie to your brain every day. You have to lie to your brain, cheat fear, steal bad confidence. I'm a great believer in lying, cheat, and steal. So when I'm writing, I go, oh, I love this. There's nowhere else I'd rather be in the whole world. That's not true. But if I say it enough, I cheat the feeling of everyone's out having fun, I'm here stuck in my desk. And I can steal back the ability to really commit myself to writing. So it's a bit like if somebody was putting a needle in your arm. You know, if you're having a tattoo, that's actually very exciting. If you were having some Botox moving your arm, you'd be excited about the results. If you're a drug addict, very exciting. But if you don't like pain, it would be terrifying. So it's on the needle. You can have 5 reactions to a needle. I'm excited, I'm thrilled, I'm ready.
Yes.
I want it, I hate it. It's the way you feel about the needle or the stubbing for the exam. So if I put a big lump of meat on the table, if you're a vegan, that's disgusting. If you're from India, it's actually offensive.
Yes.
If you're a bodybuilder, it's exciting. And if you're really hungry, it's thrilling. So if you're a Hindu, it means it's offensive. And if you're a vegan, it's offensive. But if you're hungry, it's wonderful. So it's not even the lump of beef. It's the meaning you've made to it. And the very good news is we can change it. And even in COVID, some people said, I loved COVID. I got to stay home with my kids. We had math lessons in the kitchen. We were baking. We were measuring and weighing. And I loved it. I loved not commuting. Other people said it was awful. I felt like I was in jail. So even with COVID, the meaning you made of COVID influenced how you coped with it or not. And now we have a permacrisis. It's much better if we didn't. But you're going to look back one day and say, wow, what did I do? In fact, I'm probably the same as when they had a lockdown. When the plague came around, there was a lockdown. Oh, who is this person? I've talked about it a lot. And he invented, was it penicillin? I can't remember anymore, but describe that bit. One day you'll look back and think, what did I do in COVID? I wrote my children's curriculum in COVID because I had the time. And I got run over 3 years ago. This said, 6 weeks in Poissy. And that's when I wrote my book, Your Mind, Your Rules, because I had the time. So you're going to look back on it and go, what did I do when I was at home and I couldn't go? Some of my life changed. Did I do anything good with that? Did I make anything? A lot of people were saying here in COVID, I was taking through to our neighbor, I was doing the shopping. We could only go out 1 hour a day. I got a community. We all helped out. Yeah. So imagine your life is finished. What did you do? Look back and think, what did you do?
Yes.
What meaning did you make of it? Did you make more friends? Did you become more of a community person? Did you reach out to other people? Did you do anything good? Because if the answer is yes, then it was what I said.
It's the little things. And like, because I said, it's the gratitude for the little things, like the smells and
Yeah. But also reconnecting with your neighbors. If you live in a big apartment block and you never see them, and suddenly we're all in this together, we start to talk about it and you'll have for each other. And that's so important.
it is. I agree. Getting back to kind of perceptions and the perceptions of success and achievement. I feel, what about celebrating failures? Because it's only when you fail that you learn to do better, and that doesn't happen in the school system. Failure is a big F.
Yeah, my husband has to think of my friend failure. My friend failure, what did it teach me? Because the only risk in life, of course, is not to take the risk. Not taking the risk is the biggest risk, and not trying. Failing to try is just the same as trying to fail. And often, I years ago asked to be a TV presenter. Sounded like great. I absolutely hated it. It just wasn't me. I remember I was saying in a park, had to get so excited about a banana muffin. And I was saying to the producer, show me. She goes, I can't do it. I'm the producer, you got to do it. And I thought, and I just couldn't do it. And I realized that being a TV presenter is not going to work. There's a few things in my life that I'd done. My daughter was stopped in the street and asked to model, and she said, Mummy, I hate it. Every minute walking down the aisle. I said, darling, it's not for you. You would never have known. I mean, it's a great thing to be scattered in the street and asked to walk at London Fashion Week. It's somebody's dream come true. But it wasn't your dream come true, because you can only find out what you love by seeing the things you don't love. And often we try things, because that wasn't for me. That wasn't an energetic fit, in the same way that you can, when your kids are dating, they go, why doesn't he like me? You go, darling, you're just not a good energetic fit. You want to be with someone that adores you. This is not your person. I'm so glad that my daughter's 2 other boys didn't work out, because she married the most amazing guy we all adore. But I can look back at my life and think, gosh, when that guy dumped me, he did me a huge favor. I didn't know it at the time. But it's like the weave of the cloth, joy and pain, success. And when you can't just have one, if you only had success and joy, well, you don't know joy until you've had pain.
Yes.
You don't know success until you've felt. You say, wow, this feels so good, because the other thing felt so bad. So I know that I do the right thing, because the feeling of rightness I get when I do it, when I'm speaking on stage or working with children, it feels so right. But I'd also done things that felt so wrong. So tune into that feeling of rightness. And as a parent, really look at the feeling of rightness your children get, and don't make them do something that doesn't give them joy. Right.
I have one question for you. I think you've worked at about 1,500 schools so far. If you had the ability to design a curriculum, what would you take out? What would you put in?
Well, I'd put in first enough, because I've had every child first
enough. I love that.
Know they're enough. They don't have to compete with a kid who's a genius at coding, or a genius at writing, or a genius at language. They are enough. I'd make every child know they have something to share with the world. They have their own gift, and they cannot compare themselves to anyone else's gift. So I'd always start with self-esteem. You're enough. I'd have children, and most of the schools I work with, the kids make a plaque for their desk that says, I'm enough. They say it, they state it, they affirm it every day. And they all create an inner cheerleader. They design it, they believe in it, it lives in their head. And I say, when no one is cheering me on, he cheers me on. When no one believes in me, she believes in me. So they literally have a cheerleader.
Yeah.
And it's so real to them.
Yes.
And it says all the things. You've got this, you can do it, you've done your best, and that's enough. So I always start with that. And then I would always look at what sparks joy of these kids. Is it right to make this poor kid who's not academic try to be academic? I was watching Victoria Beckham being interviewed by Emma Green. She said, Dave and I are not academic at all. But look at how successful they are. Trying to make people not academic. It's like trying to make someone who's not a dancer. We all have gifts, and thank goodness our gifts are all different. So I would really try to spark creativity and a sense of self, because that's what the world needs. It doesn't need more geniuses. It needs more people who are kind and willing to help. And we've got so caught up in me. Yes, this is me, and I'm doing me, and so many kids, I don't want to do what I don't want to do. But you only grow when you do what you don't want to do. So it should be we, not me. And that's what we need more of, people who care about people. That's people who are in service, because we already know that makes us happy. So I'd look at how can each child feel they belong. When we're born, we have 2 driving needs: find connection, avoid rejection. Today we're finding rejection and avoiding connection, and that's so bad. Why we take away all the screens. And in Sweden, they've just taken all the screens out again because it affected I go back to reading books, writing longhand. We've got to get our kids away from screens. And I also turn the screens black and white, because that burst of color and this novelty that we now get every minute, it's very damaging to our focus and concentration. So it is a huge overload for small children whose brains aren't used to it. So I would turn screens black and white. By the way, you can turn your own screen black and white. It's a very good thing to do. I'd only use them for limited amounts. Of course, computers are great, but I wouldn't have children reading off a tablet. I'd have them go back to books and paper.
I would too. Look at my papers right here. Finally, Education UAE and Quantum Media, it was founded with the passion of helping parents and educators finding the right fit for their kids. What is your one advice to this generation and the next, one profound mindset shift, but you would say this is sort of what you need to sort of move forward to live your best life?
As a parent, you already know that what works for one kid doesn't work for the other one. They're not the same. And in the school system, what works for one kid does not work for the other one. So look at the individual. Don't look at them as a group, and work on enough. I've been a therapist actually for 40 years now. And when my clients come in, and they all have the same problem, they just don't feel good enough. They could be a royalty, movies on a living athlete. Yeah, but the tragedy is, where did we get that? And how can we get rid of it? It's comparing. When comparison's the thief of joy, magazines, social media, all they do is compare you over and over again. They're unique. So look at that and do not compare yourself to anyone, because you can only be you. You're here to find your gift, perfect your gift, share your gift. You're not here to try and have someone else's gift. You can only be you, and you're not fragile. You're resilient beyond belief. We're just not taught that. We're taught so easily broken, that we're so easily stressed, that life is hard. It's not hard. And one of the things that I teach children is never say this is hard, say it's unfamiliar. This coding is unfamiliar. This Spanish is unfamiliar. Drawing like this is unfamiliar. But if you say it's unfamiliar, your brain hears, but it will become familiar. If you say it's hard for a long time. And one of the things about the brain, I write about it in Your Mind, Your Balls, is the brain wants to go to what is familiar while avoiding what is unfamiliar. But you get to choose what to make familiar and unfamiliar. So make certainty familiar. Make believing in yourself familiar. Find those islands of certainty in your life every day. The more you look for them, the more you'll find them. Make certainty familiar. Make believing in yourself familiar. Be present with your kids and make that familiar. Don't say this is so hard. I've got a million things to do and my kid is here, and say it's unfamiliar. But I'm making it familiar, because the brain loves what you make familiar, and it also tries to keep it.
That's brilliant. I haven't heard that phrase, comparison is a thief of joy, in so long. When we were growing up, that was one of those, those phrases that you kind of learned, and it rings so true, especially today.
That's all social media does. It has you compare, and everyone is better than you, taller than you, more successful than you.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they're happier than you. You know, if beauty made you happy, you wouldn't have all these supermodels or miserable yet. If wealth made you happy, why would some billionaires kill themselves? Look at George Michael. Look at Kate Spade from phenomenal success. So if wealth, success, and beauty were it, if wealthy people who are miserable, what makes you happy is liking yourself a lot. And that's your job. And if you just start by going, I like myself and happy kids, I like myself. I'm a good person. I'm a nice person. I got my own gift. If you do that every day, you'll have something that will make your whole life incredible. Because if you don't like yourself, whatever you've got, I'm going,
Yeah.
it starts with you. Always starts with you.
Always starts with you. Well, thank you so much, Marisa. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If this conversation resonated with you, if you feel passionately about education and you have something to share, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. I would love to hear from you. Marisa Peer, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.